All right, so if you've never been on Reddit, on the Wall Street Bets Reddit page, well, you're missing out because it's always some really, really fun reading. Basically, there's a Reddit page that just talks about making insane bets in the market with options and people talking about trading in general. And it's got a bit of a stigma to it. It's got definitely a bit of a stigma to it. And everybody on there just gets really, really, I don't want to say ratchet, but they get pretty crazy sometimes on there. And there's a story today that came out that I thought was really interesting about Reddit and how this forum is having an effect on the market. And I think it's a really funny article. I kind of want to go through it, talk to you guys about that. Like I said, if you've never been over to the Wall Street Bets Reddit, go spend some time over there. It's actually really, really entertaining to read through all of the stories and just to see what people are doing over there and the overall atmosphere at Wall Street Bets. But let's talk about this story here on Bloomberg this morning, talking about the effect of this online forum on Wall Street. So basically, the idea here is that there's been some big moves in the market recently, and a lot of those moves, they believe Bloomberg is pointing fingers at Wall Street Bets for a couple different reasons. So lately, we've had Tesla going crazy. We've had Virgin Galactic. We've had Plug. All these companies going just straight up out of nowhere on really no fundamental reason other than just a massive short squeeze. So this is basically the idea here, is that on Wall Street Bets, they're basically waging all types of just crazy bets. They're making bets that don't really make sense, okay? They're, buying a bunch of calls on a stock that really the market makers don't know why people are buying the calls are on it, and vice versa. So you got to think about every stock, there's a market maker, and the market maker is making the market in terms of finding buyers and sellers and kind of setting the price and keeping the price within reason. They're trying to keep the price within reason, within logical reason of why that stock's moving a certain way. But here, what's happening is that they are saying that now, today, the public retail investor is having more of an effect on the market than previously believed, or, really, it's been a while since the retail trader has had a big effect on the market. They're pointing it back to back when chat rooms first started, back during the .com bubble and stuff like that. So think about it. There's 900,000 people subbed to the Reddit forum, which is Wall Street Bets. So obviously there's more people that are looking at it. So there's a lot of eyeballs on it. And I've been in chat rooms before. I'm sure most of you guys have been in chat rooms as well. And you know what it's like to see a chat room pump a stock. You get a stock that's got a liquid volume, it's really slow, and then all of a sudden, one chat room's like, hey, let's buy this stock, or this stock is going to go higher. And all of a sudden, it creates this really just kind of false volume and false action that sends the stock to the moon. And really, nobody knows why. And what normally happens is the shorts end up getting squeezed out. It creates a massive short squeeze because the shorts, they might be short on a stock that they believe is going to zero, or they think it's going to crash or whatever. And all of a sudden, there's a massive spike in volume, buying volume. People are buying it for no real reason other than pumping the stock because their chat room leader told them to buy it. So what's happening with Wall Street Bets is that they're buying option contracts on a stock that really makes no sense to why they're buying it. Maybe it's really far out of the money, or maybe it's just like a insane price target. And what people believe, or what Bloomberg is saying that Wall Street Bets is doing, is that they are basically trying to manipulate the market in a sense that they are buying calls on a stock, and then they believe that it's moving the price of the stock higher as they're buying all these calls, because now the market makers have to kind of have checks and balances, and they're buying the stock. People are seeing that the call volume is increasing. There's this major call volume, and everybody's like, well, okay, Tesla, there's 800 call volume, which is really high for some reason. Nobody knows why, other than maybe the idea there's a bunch of idiots on a forum that are all just like, hey, let's buy these calls. And they're pushing the price of the stocks higher because people are seeing the call volume. The market makers are having to hedge their positions when they're selling the calls, because they're basically having to buy the underlying stock, which is then creating a short squeeze, or just kind of inadvertently pushing the price of the stock higher without really any fundamental reason. So people are now basically giving credit to Wall Street Bets for trying to manipulate this process. And just the other day, there was a story about, I think it was lumber liquidators. Somebody posted about lumber liquidators. They thought that was going to be a bullish move for lumber liquidators. And you can see the stock price here. It went up 18% after they talked about this on Wall Street Bets. And it says that the call volumes, the volumes for those calls went up 71 times the previous month average, with the price of the stock raising 18%. So that was somebody, a user on Wall Street Bets, talking about lumber liquidators, and then everybody just going over there and buying a bunch of crazy calls and then just squeezing the stock higher, because you can see right here in February, right there from $7.94 up there to $10.45. So jumping pretty big there. Really, like I said, the problem here is that the market makers don't know why somebody's buying all these calls. Nobody really knows why, other than there's just a bunch of idiots on a forum somewhere who are like, hey, let's buy all these calls and let's push the price higher. Bloomberg's basically giving credit to the idea that Wall Street Bets figured out a way to toy the system and to basically just create this false volume and just buying all these calls and setting the price of the stock higher as people see that call volume coming in, and as the market makers also try to control the price and try to keep the price at a certain point. So really interesting to see that the effect of really a forum on the internet is having that much effect on a stock, like Tesla, or a stock like Microsoft. I've seen Wall Street Bets talking a lot about Microsoft recently. Microsoft made a major move recently, big move from Microsoft, and there goes credit to Wall Street Bets at the idea that these guys are just basically buying calls and pushing the price of these stocks with really no fundamental reason other than just herd mentality and having 900,000 people trying to buy a stock that's going higher. And it's really interesting to see, how does this go? How do we stop this in the future? Maybe we don't stop it, but how do we control this? Or how does the government, how does the SEC, things like that, how do you stop 900,000 people on a Reddit forum from manipulating a price of the stock? If everybody on Reddit goes and buys a bunch of calls for GoPro and starts squeezing GoPro, how do you stop that from happening? What does the market do in terms of how do they control that manipulation? Or maybe the market kind of figures out in the future that this is what's happening, and they kind of start playing the opposite, and they end up making money off of these idiots who are buying these calls or trying to squeeze the price of the stock. It's definitely an interesting play. And you also got to think about what are the market makers doing, and then also some of the bigger players. You've got the actual SCMs and people who are seeing the orders go through and are seeing the orders and seeing the volume, and they're also kind of front running these orders. So you got to ask yourself, what's the future in terms of the market with this type of action? Because you think 10, 20 years ago, the internet obviously is growing exponentially and is growing bigger and bigger. More people are on the internet ever than before. More people are using apps like Robinhood and these different apps so you can buy calls and do these things much easier, and you get this massive squeeze of people who really have no fundamental reasoning to why they're buying a stock other than they're reading it on Reddit. So really interesting to kind of see how this type of action plays into the market. And it's big news because obviously Bloomberg's covering it. So it's not just the people claiming to be moving the market. There's obviously something actually going on here. So we'll see what happens going into the future. How does the SEC, I guess at the end of the day, they really can't stop it, because if people on the internet believe that a stock price is going to go higher and everyone's buying calls, everyone's pushing the price higher, there's not really much that they can do. They can't stop people from believing that Tesla is going to be priced higher in the future. They can't really stop people from investing. So maybe it's just a win-win for everybody, creating more liquidity and creating more volume in the markets. That's maybe the upside to this. So we'll see what happens. What do you guys think about this article? Do you really think that Wall Street Bets had a major impact on the price of stocks recently? What do you guys think? Do you think this is actual news, or do you think this is all just made up and just a story for people to talk about? So there it is. If you guys haven't already, do me a big favor, hit that like button, the subscribe button, all those buttons down below. I will talk to you guys later on.
If you're still watching this video, don't worry. There's a lot more videos right here on the #1 day trading channel for you to check out and learn more about day trading. So don't be afraid and check out these videos right over here. 1, 2 newest and latest and greatest videos for you to check out. Also, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already.